So if someone was to walk into Dynamic right now and say, I want to lose 10 kilos, what would be the first thing that you'd focus on as a coach?
Just lose 10 kilos.
Simple. Nice. Just do it, guys. Just lose 10 kilos.
Well, first I would ask, do they actually want to lose 10 kilos or do they want to lose fat? Because those are two different conversations that you need to have with someone. Because losing 10 kilos, I would say, is a very specific goal. The only reason you would ever think to lose 10 kilos is maybe you liked the body you had when you were 10 kilos lighter, which is a very common reason or common thing that people that say I want to lose 10 kilos have in their minds because they remember when they were 60 kilos, which is 10 kilos lighter, they looked better, they felt better, and they want to get back there, right? But then when you go through the process that we follow with our personal training and our programs and in our dynamic personal training studio,
Okay.
when we go through the process of losing those 10 kilos, they end up finding that once they've lost 5 kilos and actually gained muscle, they look better than what they did when they were actually 10 kilos lighter.
Perfect.
So it becomes a full different ball game.
If someone walked in, you were just talking about the general person, right? Walking in, it could be 50, they could be 20, they could be asking that blatant question of I want to lose 10 kilos, right? So now I've just given you a bit more of a detailed example of someone that's 50, they've trained before. The last time they trained was 10 years ago and they've tried all these fad diets in the past. Then how would you direct that conversation? Because they have the knowledge already, right? So they already have an understanding of.
If they've tried all these fad diets, here's your description of this person. They've tried all these fad diets, they haven't trained for 10 years, and they're walking in here, and the first thing they say to us is, I want to lose 10 kilos.
Would you make weight loss the main goal?
No, I would understand what is their deep rooted reason why. You know, usually I find this is from my experience of meeting people that say they want to lose 10 kilos or 20 kilos or 15 kilos. That's usually down to the fact that they were at that weight before at a previous point in their life. Could have been 5 years ago, could have been up to 20 years ago that they were at this weight. And they've tried over many years to get back there. They've tried all these fad diets, all these programs, all these PTs, but nothing's worked. Nothing's worked for them. They're at the point where they're thinking, it's all too hard, and they start blaming things like menopause, aging,
Metabolism,
metabolism, the fact that they're
their body's not breaking down food the way it used to.
yes, so they have all these excuses, and I'm gonna say excuses because it is an excuse. The whole the rules to fat loss doesn't change just because of your age.
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming in with these excuses because they've tried so many things and it hasn't worked for them. Okay. Now they're stepping foot in here, and we're like, it is possible, but I don't think that's your actual goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something they need to understand is they need to understand that losing 10 kilos may not be their specific goal. Maybe their goal is to look and feel better. And the way to do that is not losing weight, it's to lose fat. And once I understand that, it becomes a full different thing. And now I'm not going to go on a big tangent. I'm going to give one key example. We have one client who came in. He's been training with us for 8 weeks now, so 2 months. He's maintained his body weight the whole time. So the whole time, I think he's lost maybe a kilo in that time frame. So 8 weeks, only 1 kilo of weight loss, and he's lost 6% body fat. Was it 6%? 7% body fat. Okay, so 7% body fat in that time frame. What that should tell you is, because his weight stayed the same, is in that time frame he's gained weight and gained muscle and lost fat.
So his fat converted into muscle. No, we debriefed that last week.
So he's gained muscle, lost fat. So his weight stayed the same. But if you look at his before and after photos, he looks like a completely different person.
Yeah.
Not completely different, but you can see a difference in how his body looks because he's obviously lost a lot of fat and gained a lot of muscle.
There's a lot of standout attributes. He's more defined. He looks a lot more slimmer and he looks and feels stronger. I think that's the most important part there. And in saying that, someone walking in right now, right? Like the example that I gave before, and like Yeah, let's just say people walking in general to a personal training studio or just wanting to lose some or just wanting to focus on a healthier lifestyle. Why do you believe that their first thing that they want to focus on is weight? Why do you believe that when people come in, they go, "Oh, I want to be this weight. I want to focus on getting 5 kilos less or 10 kilos less." Why is that such a
I
main
think it
goal?
comes down to the fact that they may have been at that point before in their life, and you know, let's call this person Jane.
Jane?
Yeah,
Okay, Jane it is.
Jane Doe.
Jane Doe.
Yeah. Okay. So Jane Doe came in. She's whatever age, let's say, and she wants to lose 10 kilos. I'm putting money on it that she was at this weight that she wants to get to at some point in her life. And she feels like, well, from her memories, she felt and looked better at that weight. So let's say she's 70 kilos now, and 10 years ago she was 60, and she's trying to remember her life, and she's like, you know what, I felt and looked a lot better when I was 60 kilos. So when she comes into a new gym environment or a PT studio and someone says, what's your goal? She's gonna immediately think, I want to lose 10 kilos because me losing 10 kilos is gonna put me back to how I was 10 years ago.
So it comes down to now the right education from the coach or the facility that you go to.
Because let's say Jane Doe just goes through the process of weight loss, right? All she does is cut her calories and start doing cardio and goes for a walk and run every single day, right? She'll lose the weight. She'll lose the 10 kilos. Very achievable. But the problem is if she's not doing any strength training, she's not following a program and not doing it in the right methods or the right way, and there's enough research and studies out there to prove all this stuff, she's going to be losing muscle and fat at the same time. So even if she does get back to that 60 kilos, and if she's disciplined enough, she will, she's not going to look the same as she did because she's going to be a lot less muscular and just, I believe, from my experience of seeing people that have done this process before, they just look like smaller versions of what they used to be.
Well, in saying that, yes, the weight loss is great, right? It gets your body fat percentage down. You're feeling a lot healthier, right? But then in that case of not doing strength training paired up with that, you've got a lot more complications coming your way in terms of injury, illness, sickness, all that sort of that becomes a little bit more prominent now that you've got no muscle, you've got no strength. You can't do the normal things that you do around the house. You can't pick up those things that you used to pick up when you had the weight because there's actually no muscle tone to actually be used.
100%.
So
The only times, this is one thing, and then you can ask me
yeah,
a
yeah.
question. The only times I ever would recommend or understand someone that has a weight goal, like they want to lose a specific amount of weight, is for um weight cutting sports. Weight cutting sports, or actually just sports in general. Because for sports, like obviously everyone knows, boxers have to weigh in at a certain weight class, right? So for those people, they have a specific target. They need to be under 83 kilos by X date. But what you need to understand, that's something that's very specific, right? For the general person, there's no reason for you to chase a specific number on the scale. What you should be aiming for is to lose body fat percentage. So instead of looking at scale numbers, they should be looking at body fat percentage numbers. And you can measure this in multiple ways. For the most cost effective method is taking progress photos and using, there's heaps of photo ideas on Google to show you what 10% body fat looks like on a female and 10% body fat looks on a male. Compare your photo to that photo, and then you'll be able to tell what kind of range you're in. If you want more accuracy, there's a lot of body scanners out there. A lot of local gyms, a lot of gyms have body scanners at their premises, or you can book in with. What can you find?
Body scans, you can just search up body scan near me, and most of the time it comes up on Google.
Oh yeah, and you can pay for a DEXA scan.
You can pay for well, that's probably the more exier side of things is when you go down the DEXA scan, which is a lot more accurate than your regular body scan. But for the purpose of tracking and seeing if what you're doing is actually working, then for the middle range, cost effective wise, then I'd probably say something like a body scan is probably going to be your best friend.
Yeah.
When it comes to, okay, so to summarize for the people that are watching up until this point, there's weight loss and fat loss. Fat loss has to do with maintaining your muscle mass while being in a deficit and losing body fat percentage as opposed to losing muscle. When it comes to weight loss, you are losing body weight, which may include muscle, which we don't want. So that's the part of today is we want to try and educate you on the most effective way that you should be charging towards your goal of losing that 10 kilos more effectively, with more of a roadmap to success rather than just wanting to lose 10 kilos. So why should Jane Doe watching this right now care about strength training?
Because strength training is the only thing that's going to help her maintain or even build muscle while she's trying to achieve her fat loss goal.
Okay, but what if she walks in and says, I don't want to squat, I don't want to do anything, I'm not a power lifter, I don't need to do all those heavy lifting exercises that I see on social media?
I would ask Jane Doe straight away. I would be like, so how did you get here? Did you drive? Did you have to sit into your car seat? And did you have to stand up out of the car seat? I would say if you're not progressively training that in your later years when you start losing more muscle at a faster rate, you're going to lose the ability to actually squat down. You're going to find it a lot more difficult to sit down and stand up out of your couch. You're going to find it a lot more difficult to sit down and stand up off the toilet seat. And you're going to find it difficult to even lie down in your bed. Now, do you want those normal bodily functions to start deteriorating at a faster rate because you neglected strength training for so long in your life? Or do you want to start doing it now, get comfortable under the bar, so then your longevity of movement is there for the later years? And in terms of deadlifts, you mentioned deadlifts as an exercise. Well, squats. Yeah, squats as an exercise. That was the one. Now, deadlifts, are you going to not pick things up off the floor? What if your phone falls on the floor? Yeah, that thing weighs 100 grams.
Still 100 grams. You got to pick it up. It's 100 grams, but it can pull your back out.
What's something that...
Okay, I'll give you an example. One of my clients did her back in, grabbing the dishes from the dishwasher.
There we go.
So I think listen, take that in because that is so important. I think a lot of people put this bad emphasis on what strength training is, and the real passion behind why we say it with so much chest is because you have to start flipping that connotation. Get it out of your head.
I do have a big chest, don't I?
You do. Bench, deadlift, and squat are your three main lifts, right? Your main core lifts. Change that perception of what they actually are. They're not scary things. They are the movements that you should be doing on a daily basis to prevent any sort of harm or injury in your older years. And I think a lot of people need to soak that in because we don't put you under the bar to make you a powerlifter. We don't make you lift 100 and something kilos because we want you to be jacked. We want you, the person watching this video right now, to be strong forever. We don't want you getting injuries when you're older. We don't want you pulling your back out. We don't want you injuring your ankles, your shoulders, your knees, your hips, all the joints in your body.
We want you strong and mobile for life.
That's what we do here, brother.
And you know what's funny, right? There's all these new like functional training gyms that are coming out, right? And it's very common and very big in the group training space that they're all about functional movement and functional training. I think it's great, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you've got 7 movements that everyone that watches this video does on a daily basis, and that you can do very easily and very quickly in a session at the gym, right? You gotta do some type of squat, and that's sitting down and standing up off a chair. You gotta do some type of lunge, because there are gonna be moments that you might need to balance on one leg,
Or drop down to one knee and pick something up.
or drop down to one knee, like you're proposing somewhere as an example. You might you might need to you need to know how to hinge, and that's gonna come with picking things up off the floor, carrying your shopping, doing things like that. You're gonna need to know how to twist, you know, closing and opening a car door. You're twisting your body to be able to do those things.
Yep.
You rotate, you squat, you lunge, you hinge, you pull, you push.
Okay, so if someone right now is watching this, what should they start focusing on tomorrow?
In terms of their weight loss goals,
Yeah.
I think they should start understanding what their actual goal is. For a lot of people, when they come into the gym, they straight away start thinking about aesthetics. And it's, you know, don't be afraid because that's a big reason as to why people start their health and fitness journey.
90% of the time, people come in for aesthetics.
Aesthetics goal. Yeah, they have a weight loss goal, a fat loss goal. They want to get ready for their daughters or theirs or their someone in their family's wedding, right? It's very common that that's the initial reason why they want to start something, right? Because emotionally we're very attached to our body and how we're perceived by others, right? So having that initial goal to push you into the door to kickstart that journey is good. Let's come in with the weight loss goal. Straight away, start thinking that it's actually not weight you need to lose; it's fat that you need to lose. Start figuring out how you're gonna start losing that fat because you got to do two things. You obviously got to be in a calorie deficit, which is eating less than you burn on a daily basis. You also need to be strength training to make sure that you're maintaining or even building muscle while you're losing that weight or while you're losing that fat in that process. So you're not becoming a smaller version of what you look like right now. So then you achieve your aesthetic goal, right? And sometimes that's actually less weight. Well, most of the time, it's actually less weight than people assume. So if you assume you need to lose 10 kilos, might actually be more like 5. Then yeah, once you go through that process, that is gonna eventually burn you out because once you achieve that goal, what do you do next? I feel like you need to start straight away thinking about what functions do I do on a daily basis and how can I make it stronger by doing my training you do.
100%. I think there's three main points that you just listed there. It's give yourself a real reason why. That's super important. Why are you doing this? Like for a wedding or something specific or your health. I think another thing that you mentioned there was have more than just one scoreboard. In terms of let me explain. So body weight is the goal. Cool. What happens after body weight? Are we focusing on body fat, like body fat percentage? Are we focusing on gaining muscle? There's unlimited scoreboards in that sort of scenario, right? So you could go for more than just the one goal. Once you've hit one, you've got the next, which is what you just said. The last one is time. I don't think people understand the time it takes to get to where you want to get to. And putting that in the forefront of your mind, knowing it's going to take time and accepting that it's going to take some time is what people need to start understanding because it's not an overnight thing.
A big thing is there's so many fads and diets and culture out there that say, "Oh, I tried this diet; it's the most effective thing. It worked for me. I lost 50 kilos." Right. So when people hear that, they're like, "Wow, I can lose 10 kilos following this new intermittent fasting method or this 5-2 protocol or this little new thing that just came up on my Instagram." The one thing that it fails to teach is that this weight loss, fat loss, muscle gain, it's all a science, right? And I feel like everyone understands that it's a science, but they're out there looking for an easier way to do it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the boring always works every single time. And once you accept that, that's when you're gonna start getting results.
Yeah.
Once you accept the fact that all it is making sure that you know where your maintenance calories is, you eat under it, you lose weight. That's always how it's always worked for as long as this has been out for. You need to accept that, start doing it, and accept that it's gonna take you X amount of weeks, which is actually something you can measure.
I think that's going to be next week's topic. That's actually a good topic, and that's something that's been coming up a lot more recently with the clients that are coming into here. Is the easy route. Why are people falling into the habit of making things so much easier for themselves? but we're not going to talk about it now. We'll talk about it in next week's episode. But I think if you're in the predicament right now where you're not too sure whether you're wanting to lose weight or gain strength, you're a little bit confused, I think reaching out to us would be the best bet and getting some sort of guidance around what it is that you want to achieve. So if you do have any questions, make sure to go into the show notes and jump on our website, check us out, call us if you want any questions answered, and just have a chat. Because I think at the end of the day, you're never going to know until you ask. And in this day and age, a lot of people just search themselves, find a TikTok video, and accept that that's what it takes to get to where they want to get to. So click the link below. If you want to book in a call with us. I'll put a link in the show notes. But for now, I think that's it. That's everything. I think next week we debunk or go into a little bit of depth around the easier routes and what the benefits and what the cons are to some of those easy routes. Pros and cons. Pros and cons. Cons is the bad one. I got it. Don't worry. I'm back. But thank you so much for watching this week's episode of the Dynamic Podcast. Brendon and I will see you next week. Thank you so much, and ciao for now.